Just 10 days before Thanksgiving dinner, my daughter called and said 5 words that changed everything. "Mom, don't come home. My husband's upset." I stood there holding a plane ticket I just bought. And I had no idea that 4 years later I'd be standing at my 65th birthday party watching that same daughter scream, "That money is mine," in front of 40 witnesses. If you've stayed with me this far, I need you to know something. I'm not sharing this story for sympathy. I'm sharing it because it could happen to anyone. Please subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comment section where you're watching from. Helps me know how far my story has reached. Quick disclaimer. Some names, places, and details in this story have been changed or created for dramatic effect. But trust me, the core truth, that's very real. I was at Target standing in the checkout line with a cart full of Thanksgiving supplies, marshmallows for sweet potato casserole, aluminum pans, a new sweater because Sienna had mentioned Vivian Ashford always dressed elegantly for holidays. My phone rang. Sienna's name lit up. "Hi, honey," I said, stepping out of line. "I'm just grabbing things for next week. Do you still want me to make?" "Mom, we need to talk." Her voice was tight, professional. "It's about Thanksgiving." My stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "Ban's upset." "Upset about what?" "About you coming." She said it quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "He thinks it's better if you don't come this year." I stood there holding marshmallows while someone's kid screamed for candy 3 aisles over. "What do you mean?" "Ban's family is coming. His parents, his brother, his sister-in-law. And with the promotion he's going for this Thanksgiving is really important image-wise." "Image-wise," I repeated. "Yes, Ban's upset because when he told his mother you were coming, she asked what you did. And when he said, 'Retired elementary school teacher,' she trailed off." "Understood." His mother didn't think that was impressive enough. "It's not about impressive," Sienna said defensively. "It's just that his family are all in finance. His father founded the firm. His mother sits on charity boards. They summer in Cape Cod. And you and I taught 3rd grade for 30 years. Ban thinks it'll be awkward. You wouldn't understand their conversations. Markets, portfolio, ski resorts in Switzerland. What would you even talk about?" I looked at my cart. Cheap pans, store-brand marshmallows, the $29 sweater. "So Ban's upset that I'm not rich enough for Thanksgiving. Don't twist this." He snapped. "Ban's trying to make partner. Everything has to be perfect. The house, the wife, the family. Do you understand the pressure he's under? And I'm the imperfect part." Silence, then softer. "Just easier this way, Mom. One Thanksgiving we'll do Christmas. I already bought the plane ticket, $347, non-refundable. Then get a credit or..." She paused. "Look, that's not really my problem. Ban's upset and I need to support my husband. Not really my problem. $347. Half my monthly grocery budget. What about Poppy? I haven't seen her since August. Poppy's 3. She won't even notice. My granddaughter wouldn't notice I was missing. So when will I see you? We'll figure something out. Maybe Christmas. Ban's family might want us in Aspen." Someone spoke in the background. "Mom, I have to go. Ban needs me." The line went dead. I stood there while shoppers moved around me. A woman bumped my cart, apologized, kept walking. I looked at the marshmallows, the pans, the sweater that would never be elegant enough. I pushed my cart to customer service and returned everything. The teenager just scanned items and handed me $43.62. I drove home in my 10-year-old Honda and sat at the kitchen table staring at the plane ticket. Gate C14, departure, November 21st, 6:45 a.m. $347 saved by skipping movies and eating simple dinners for 3 months. All for a Thanksgiving I was no longer invited to because Ban was upset that I wasn't impressive enough. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there as November light faded through my yellow curtains, thinking about 61 years of making myself smaller for people who would never think I was enough. Outside, the neighbors laughed unloading groceries. Another family raked leaves while their kids jumped in piles. Everyone had somewhere to belong. I didn't. And sitting there alone holding that useless ticket, I had no idea this was just the beginning. But that afternoon I just felt small, unwanted, and completely alone. 15 years ago I was 50 years old, standing in Principal Whitmore's office at Lincoln Elementary, looking at the biggest opportunity of my career, the principal position. After 25 years of teaching third grade, they wanted me to lead the school. "You'd be perfect for this, Vera," Principal Whitmore said, sliding the job description across the desk. "The teachers respect you. The parents trust you. The salary increase would be substantial. Almost $15,000 more a year." $15,000. I stared at that number, thinking about what it could mean. A newer car, maybe a vacation, something more than a weekend at a state park. Finally saving for retirement instead of living paycheck to paycheck. "I need an answer by Friday," they said. I walked out feeling 10 feet tall. Finally, someone was seeing my worth. My phone rang before I reached my car. "Jenna." Her voice was thick with tears. "I can't do this anymore." My hand froze on the car door. "Honey, what's wrong?" "Too much. Professor Hicks gave us a 15-page paper due Monday. Have 2 midterms. My roommate is awful." And she dissolved into sobs. I got in the car, phone pressed to my ear, keys dangling, forgotten. "Tell me what you need." "Need you. I need to know you're there. That if things get too hard I can come home. But you're always at school late and I can never reach you. And I feel so alone." Something twisted in my chest. 21 years old and she still needed her mother. "I'm here," I said softly. "I'm always here. Promise. Promise you won't get so busy with work that you forget about me." The principal job flashed through my mind. Longer hours, evening school board meetings, weekend events. Sienna was right. I'd be less available. "Promise," I heard myself say. Friday came. I walked back into Principal Whitmore's office and declined the position. I told them I needed to focus on my family. They looked disappointed but understanding. They gave the job to someone else. Someone whose daughter didn't need them available at a moment's notice. I told myself it was the right choice, that being a good mother meant sacrifice. What I didn't tell myself was that this was just the beginning. Over the next few years, Sienna's lifestyle expanded while mine contracted. She wanted to join a sorority. I picked up tutoring gigs on weekends. She needed a car for junior year. I started cleaning houses on Saturday mornings. She wanted to study abroad senior year. I took a third job at a retail store folding clothes for minimum wage. I'd leave my teaching job at 3:30, drive across town to tutor until 6, then head to the store for evening shift. Saturdays I cleaned houses. Sundays I graded papers and meal prepped simple dinners. Pasta, soup, nothing fancy, nothing expensive. When Sienna came home for visits, she'd wrinkle her nose at my canned soup and ask why I didn't cook real food anymore. I didn't tell her it was because her sorority dues cost more than my monthly grocery budget. She never asked about my life, my dreams, whether I was happy, and I never told her. Good mothers don't burden their children. I'd convinced myself that love meant erasure, that being a good mother meant making myself smaller so my daughter could grow bigger. Every sacrifice felt noble, necessary, the right thing to do. I didn't realize I was teaching her a lesson, that my needs didn't matter, that I existed to serve her, that I could be set aside whenever something better came along. Every sacrifice I told myself it was love. I didn't know I was teaching her I was disposable. 3 years before that phone call, everything changed. Russell got sick. It started with back pain he brushed off. 58 is too young to fall apart, he'd joke. But the pain didn't stop. Then came weight loss, yellowing skin, the appointment that led to a specialist. Then an oncologist whose gentle eyes told me everything before his words did. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. How long? Yes. 6 months, maybe 8 with treatment. Russell took my hand, his palm cold. We'll fight it, he said. Fighting cancer isn't dramatic. It's getting your husband to the bathroom at 3 in the morning when medication makes him sick. Learning to flush 4 lines and manage pain pumps. Watching the man who fixed everything struggle to open a water bottle. I took leave from teaching. We lived on Russell's insurance and our savings. I spent days in his hospital room, then at home with a rented hospital bed in our living room because he couldn't manage stairs. Sienna was 29, living with Ban, pregnant with Poppy. I called her the day of diagnosis. "Oh my God, Mom, that's awful." Her voice cracked. "I'll visit this weekend." He didn't. "Work emergency." He texted Friday. "Ban needs help with a client presentation. Next week, I promise." Next week became next month. 6 weeks later, she finally came for 2 hours on Sunday. She sat on Russell's bed, phone in hand, checking messages while he tried to tell her about his book. "That sounds nice, Dad," she said, not looking up. "Mom, do you have crackers? The baby's making me nauseous." I made her crackers. I always made her crackers. She left before dinner. Russell watched her go from the window, his thin frame barely filling the chair. "She's busy," I said. "The pregnancy, the new house." "I know." His voice was quiet. "I just thought when you're dying people make time." But Sienna didn't. Months crawled by, each stealing more of Russell. His laugh, his strength, his hope. I held his hand through treatments. Read to him when he was too weak to hold books. Learned to see the man I loved in the body failing him. Sienna visited once more in 6 months. Once. Ban's company had a conference in our city, and she figured she'd stop by. He stayed an hour. Poppy, newborn, slept in her car seat. Russell asked to hold his granddaughter. "I don't want to wake the baby," Sienna said. "Maybe next time." There wouldn't be a next time. Russell knew it. I knew it. After she left, Russell was quiet. Finally, I should have taught her differently. Taught her what? That people aren't dispensable. He looked at me with eyes holding 33 years of marriage. "I watched you make yourself small for her, Vera. I should have stopped it. Should have taught her that love isn't something you take when convenient and ignore when not. She's just scared seeing you like this." "Well." He shook his head slowly. "She's just busy. There's a difference." He was right. Scared people show up anyway. Busy people find excuses. In his final weeks, Russell stopped asking when Sienna would visit. He stopped mentioning her name. That silence hurt more than anything, more than the illness taking him, more than facing life alone. It was the silence of a father who'd finally accepted his daughter had already said goodbye. Russell passed away on a Tuesday morning in March, 2 years before Sienna's phone call. I was holding his hand when he took his final breath. The hospice nurse said it would be soon. His breathing had changed, shallow and distant, like he was already somewhere else. But nothing prepares you for the moment someone you love simply stops being there. "I'm here," I whispered. "Love you." And then he was gone. 33 years of marriage over. The funeral was Friday. I'd called Sienna Tuesday afternoon. "I'll be there, Mom," she'd said, crying. Course. The service started at 10 o'clock. By 10:15, Sienna still hadn't arrived. I sat in the front pew, surrounded by Russell's colleagues, former students, neighbors. The seat next to me stayed empty. She walked in at 10:40, Ban behind her, both wearing sunglasses indoors. They slid into the back row. After the service, she hugged me briefly. "Sorry we're late. Traffic. We have to leave soon. Ban has a meeting at 3. A meeting. The day we buried her father. They left before the reception. 2 days later, the lawyer read Russell's will. Life insurance $400,000. Retirement accounts $300,000. The house paid off $350,000. Over $1 million. Russell had worked 2 jobs for years to build that security for me. The lawyer slid an envelope across the desk. "He asked me to give you this privately." I opened it alone in my car. "My dearest Vera, if you're reading this, I'm gone. We had a good run, didn't we? 33 years of you and me. You gave Sienna everything. Your dreams, your money, your time, yourself. She took it all without ever saying thank you. This money is for you. Not for her education, wedding, or house. For you. Please save something for yourself. Travel. Take that art class. Live the life you put on hold. She will ask. She will expect. Don't give in. For once, choose yourself. I love you forever, Russell." I sat in that parking lot and cried until I couldn't breathe. 1 year later, Sienna got engaged. We're thinking June, she said, excited. Something elegant. Ban's family knows everyone, so it needs to be perfect. That sounds wonderful. The good venues are expensive. 50, 60,000. I heard what she wasn't saying. How much do you need? If you could help with $55,000, that would cover everything. I know it's a lot, but Dad's life insurance, right? He'd want this for me. Russell's words echoed. She will ask. She will expect. But she was my daughter. Her wedding. I'll write you a check. I used the money I'd been saving to open a small flower shop. That dream ended before it began. The wedding was beautiful. 200 guests at a country club. Sienna looked stunning. Ban's parents held court like royalty. Vivian Ashford made a point of asking me loudly what I did for a living. I'm recently retired. I taught elementary school. Oh, how sweet. The way she said it made sweet sound like an insult. Vivian was on the board of the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. Do you know it? Do. Have you been? I haven't had the chance. She smiled without warmth. You should go sometime. Culture is so important. Sienna saw the exchange but said nothing. She was too busy posing with Ban's family, fitting seamlessly into their world. She never thanked me for the $55,000. Not once. I drove home alone that night and found Russell's letter in my nightstand. I read it again, this time really hearing it. Save something for yourself. I hadn't understood Russell's warning then, but I was about to. 2 hours after Sienna's phone call, I got in my car. I was going to fix this. That's what I always did. Something went wrong. Fixed it. Made myself smaller, easier, less embarrassing. The drive to St. Paul took 30 minutes. I spent them rehearsing. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. Maybe I could just come for a few hours. I promise I'll be quiet. Even in my head, I sounded desperate. Sienna and Ban's house was in a neighborhood I couldn't afford. New construction, expensive landscaping, 3 cars in the driveway, none older than last year. This was the life my $55,000 had helped build. I'd stopped for flowers, cheap daisies and carnations, a peace offering. It was almost dark when I walked up their path. Through the windows, I could see their cream-colored furniture, abstract art. Everything looked like a magazine. I raised my hand to knock. I just don't understand why you can't tell her straight. Ban's voice carried through the window. Froze. I did tell her. I said, don't come. Kenna's voice. You should have been clearer. Now she'll think she can change your mind. You know how she gets, clingy and pathetic. My hand dropped. The flowers felt heavy. She'll get over it. She always does. Does she have to? Why do we keep her in our lives? She's embarrassing, Sienna. My parents took one look at her at our wedding and asked if she was the help. I should have left. I couldn't move. No. Sienna's voice was quiet. But it's not forever. What does that mean? Was. Then, the life insurance, Dad's retirement, the house. It's over $1 million, Ban. We just have to wait. The flowers slipped in my grip. Wait for what? Ben asked. How long can she realistically live? She's 61. Another 10 years max. Then we're set. We can pay off the house, invest, maybe get the lake property. So you're waiting for her to pass away. Don't say it like that. Sienna's voice sharpened. I'm being practical. She's my mother. I can't just cut her off. But I can't have her around Ban's family either. So I manage it. Keep her at a distance until she's gone and you get the inheritance. Simple. Final. And honestly, I can't wait. Can't wait to never have to see her again after we get that money. No more guilt trips. No more her looking at me with those sad eyes like I owe her something. I dropped the flowers. They landed on concrete, petals scattering. Neither heard. They were too busy planning their future with my money, counting down the years until I no longer existed. I stood there frozen. 33 years of Russell loving me. 61 years of trying to be good enough. And this is what it amounted to. My daughter calculating how long until I was worth more gone than here. I picked up the flowers not to take them, just to move them off the walkway where someone might trip. Then I walked back to my car, got in, put the key in the ignition. My hands weren't shaking. My eyes weren't wet. Felt strangely calm. I drove home through November darkness, past houses lit up with dinner preparations, past families visible through windows, together and whole. Past the exit to the nursing home where I used to visit Mrs. Opal Ramsey from my teaching days, the one whose children never came. I'd always felt sorry for her. Now I understood. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat in the car for a long time. The engine ticked as it cooled. Something inside me had gone very quiet. Not broken. I'd been broken before. This was different. This was done. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and gray. I woke to a silent phone knowing my daughter was waiting for me to pass away. 10 days had passed since I'd stood outside her window and heard the truth. 10 days of going through motions. I hadn't called Sienna. She hadn't called me. The silence felt less like abandonment now and more like clarity. I walked to my kitchen window. Outside, neighbors next door were unloading their car, arms full of covered dishes. Grandchildren squealed in fallen leaves. Across the street, another family set up extra tables, laughing. Thanksgiving, the day America celebrates family and belonging. I made coffee and sat at my table. On TV, the parade played, giant balloons floating through New York, crowds cheering. Russell and I used to watch together every year. He'd make terrible jokes about the floats. The coffee tasted like nothing. My phone sat dark on the counter. No happy Thanksgiving, Mom. Nothing. Somewhere 30 minutes away, Sienna was setting her table for Ban's important guests. Grateful her embarrassing mother wasn't there. I thought about staying home, ordering delivery, spending the day in pajamas, pretending this was choice. No, I would not let them make me invisible. If I was eating Thanksgiving dinner, I'd do it somewhere with people, with light, with life. Even alone, I wouldn't be hiding. I showered, put on my nicest sweater. The blue one Russell said brought out my eyes. Did my makeup carefully, grabbed my purse. As I locked my door, my neighbor waved. Happy Thanksgiving, Vera. You headed to Sienna's. Different plans this year. Called back, smiling. Lakeside Grill was one of those Minneapolis institutions that stayed open on holidays for people like me. People with nowhere else to go. When I pushed through the door, warmth hit me. The smell of roasted turkey and fresh bread. The soft clink of glasses, and everywhere, families. The hostess looked up, took in my solo arrival, and her expression shifted to pity. Just one tonight. Just one. 2 words that said everything about my life. Just one. She led me through the packed restaurant. Every table was full. Couples with elderly parents, groups of friends. Large families spilling across multiple tables pushed together. She seated me at a tiny table in the corner, squeezed between the kitchen door and a celebration that took up 3 tables. Your server will be right with you. I sat down, opened the menu, tried to look like this was fine. The family next to me was celebrating hard. An older couple at the head, probably late 60s. A middle-aged couple with 2 kids who kept interrupting each other, laughing. A younger couple telling a story that had everyone in stitches. 3 generations. Easy, natural. They passed dishes without asking. Finished each other's sentences. The kind of family that exists in greeting cards. The kind I'd thought I had. The server arrived. The Thanksgiving special. Please. The turkey came looking perfect. Golden skin, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes with gravy. It looked like a magazine. I couldn't taste any of it. I sat there, fork in hand, pushing food around while the family next to me exploded in laughter. The little girl was telling a story with her mouth full, and instead of correcting her, they all leaned in closer to hear. This is what it was supposed to look like. This warmth, this easy joy, this certainty that you belonged. I thought about my daughter 30 minutes away serving turkey to people who mattered more than I did. I thought about Russell's letter. Save something for yourself. I thought about Sienna's voice. Can't wait to never have to see her again. I watched the family next to me pass plates and laugh together, and something inside me cracked wide open. The tears came before I could stop them. I sat staring at the plate. Golden skin, cranberry sauce, steam rising from potatoes. Everything arranged beautifully, like someone had tried to make loneliness look appetizing. The family next to me was still laughing. The grandmother telling a story, hands gesturing wildly. The little boy spilled his milk, and instead of anger, there was just gentle teasing. This is what I'd wanted. Not the perfect turkey. The imperfect, messy, beautiful chaos of people who loved each other. The tears came harder. I pressed my napkin to my eyes, trying to disappear. "Honey." A woman's voice, warm and concerned. I looked up. A woman in her late 60s stood beside my table. Silver hair in a soft bun, kind eyes, burgundy sweater and pearl earrings. The sort of face that looked like it had spent a lifetime listening. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. "I'm fine. Just allergies." She raised one eyebrow. Allergies don't usually make people cry into their turkey on Thanksgiving. Despite everything, I almost laughed. "I didn't mean to disturb your dinner." "You're not disturbing anything. I'm Connie. Connie Merriweather. Vera Holloway." "Well, Vera." Her voice was gentle but firm. "No one should eat alone on this day. Why don't you come join us?" I shook my head. "Couldn't. I don't want to intrude." "You're not intruding. I'm inviting. There's a difference. Really, I appreciate it. My husband tells terrible jokes. Our son starts political debates. You be doing us a favor." From the big table, an older man, maybe 70, reading glasses pushed up on his head, waved. "She won't take no for an answer. 43 years of marriage. Never won an argument." Connie turned to him. "That's because I'm always right, Ollie." Ollie grinned at me. "See." I looked between them. This couple who saw a crying stranger and didn't look away. "I don't want to impose." I tried once more. Connie touched my shoulder. "Sweetheart, you're not imposing. We just opened another bottle of wine, and there's way too much pie. Please." Her eyes held something. Not pity, recognition, understanding. "'Kay," I heard myself say. "If you're sure." "I'm sure." I stood and followed her to the table. The family looked up, curious but friendly. Ollie pulled out the chair next to him. "Welcome to the chaos. I'm Ollie. The turkey's dry. My jokes are worse, but the company's pretty good." "Ollie, the turkey is not dry," Connie said. "The turkey is absolutely dry," said a man in his 40s. "But we love you anyway, Mom." Everyone laughed. Someone poured wine. A plate appeared. The little girl looked at me with wide eyes. "Are you Grandma's new friend?" "Suppose I am." "Oh, Bryn. Me. Do you like mac and cheese?" "Do. Mom says the turkey's too dry." More laughter. Someone passed bread. Connie caught my eye and gave me a small nod. "You belong here." For the first time in 10 days I felt something shift. Not healing but hope. Tiniest spark. As I sat down, surrounded by these strangers who'd made room for me, I had no idea I was walking toward my future. They made room like I'd always been there. Connie sat at the head of the table in her burgundy sweater, silver hair catching the warm restaurant light. Ollie was across from her, sleeves rolled up, a man who'd spent 43 years making her laugh. Their son Jasper, 42, with his father's easy smile and his mother's warm eyes, sat beside his wife Isla, who had the kind of face that made you feel like everything would be okay. And then there were the kids. Bryn, 8 years old, bouncing in her seat with the kind of energy only children have after too much sugar and not enough sleep. Felix sat quieter, watching me with big, curious eyes as he built a tower out of mashed potatoes when he thought no one was looking. "So," Ollie said, leaning back in his chair with a grin. "You know what the turkey said to the computer?" Bryn groaned. "Grandpa, no. Google, Google, Google." The table erupted. Bryn giggled so hard she nearly knocked over her water. Felix's potato tower collapsed. Jasper shook his head, grinning. Isla covered her face with her napkin, laughing. And I laughed too. A real laugh, the first one in months. Connie poured me more wine. "Don't encourage him," she said, but her eyes were soft. "He's been telling that joke since 1987. And it gets better every year," Ollie said, winking at me. The food kept coming. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce that wasn't from a can. Someone passed me green beans. Someone else refilled my plate before I even realized it was empty. I wasn't used to this, people noticing me, making sure I had enough. "So Vera," Connie said gently, folding her hands on the table. "Are you from Minneapolis originally?" I hesitated the way you do when you're not sure how much to say. "I've been here most of my life. I taught elementary school for 30 years. Retired a few years ago." Teacher Isla said, her face lighting up. "That's wonderful. What grade?" "Third." "They're still small enough to think you're magic, but old enough to tie their own shoes." Jasper laughed. "That's the sweet spot. Do you have family here?" Connie asked, her voice careful. "Not prying, just kind." I looked down at my plate. "Daughter. She's busy." Connie didn't push. She just nodded like she understood all the things I wasn't saying. "Well," she said, "the family we choose is just as important as the one we're born into." Ollie raised his glass. "To Thanksgiving and to new friends." I lifted my glass, throat tight. "To new friends." Dinner stretched on, easy conversation, seconds, thirds. Bryn told me about her upcoming dance recital. Felix asked if I liked dinosaurs. Said yes. He gave me a detailed ranking of his top 5. Jasper talked about his job as an architect. Isla shared a story about their dog, a golden retriever named Biscuit, who'd eaten an entire pumpkin pie last year. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt this scene. When dessert was finally cleared, pumpkin pie, apple crisp, coffee, Connie reached into her purse and pulled out a small card. She slid it across the table to me. "We do this every Sunday," she said. 5 o'clock, dinner at our place. Nothing fancy, just us. I stared at the card. Her address written in neat handwriting. An invitation. "You don't have to," Connie said. "But we'd love to have you." Ollie leaned forward. "Fair warning, Felix will want to show you his dinosaur collection. Takes about an hour." 2 hours, Felix corrected. I looked at them, this family of strangers who'd made room for me at their table, who'd made me laugh, who'd asked about my life like it mattered. I folded the card carefully and slipped it into my pocket. 5 o'clock, I said. "I'll be there." Connie smiled, not with pity, with warmth. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was walking towards something instead of away from it. I stood on the Merriweathers' front porch 5 minutes before I knocked. It was early December, a month since Thanksgiving. The house was a Victorian painted soft blue with white trim, the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a Christmas card. Light poured through the windows. I could hear laughter inside. I almost turned around, but then the door opened and Connie stood there in a flour-dusted apron, smiling like she'd been waiting for me all day. "Vera," she said warmly, "you're right on time." I hadn't knocked yet. She'd just known. Inside the house smelled like roasted chicken and fresh bread. The dining room was filled with the same warmth I'd felt at Lakeside Grill, voices overlapping, plates clinking, the kind of noise that meant people were comfortable with each other. Ali waved me over. "Vera, perfect timing. I need a chess partner. I don't really play." "Even better," he said, grinning. "I hate losing." He beat me in 12 moves. Bryn showed me her science project, a papier-mâché volcano she'd painted purple because, as she explained very seriously, regular volcanoes are boring. Felix dragged me into the living room to show me his dinosaur collection, which now included a T-Rex that roared when you pressed a button. He pressed it 17 times. After dinner, I helped Isla clear the table. She didn't ask. I just started stacking plates and she handed me a dish towel like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You don't have to," she said. "I know," I said. "But I want to." Connie appeared beside us, drying a casserole dish. "Vera," she said quietly, "you're welcome here anytime. You know that, right?" I nodded, throat tight. "Thank you." She squeezed my shoulder. "Mean it." The Sundays kept coming. By January, I'd stopped hesitating at the door. By February, Bryn was asking if I could help with her math homework. By March, Felix started calling me Miss Vera and then eventually just Vera. In April, when spring finally broke through the Minnesota cold, Jasper handed me a plate at the table and said, "Here you go, family." So casually I almost didn't notice, but I did notice. Ollie taught me chess properly. I still lost, but now it took 20 moves instead of 12. Connie and I started cooking together on Sunday mornings. She'd call me at 9 o'clock and say, "I'm making pot roast. Get over here." Sla loaned me books. Bryn drew me pictures that I hung on my refrigerator next to the one Sienna had made 20 years ago. And Felix, sweet, quiet Felix, started saving me a seat at the table without being asked. I stopped bringing wine every week. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped wondering if I was overstaying my welcome. Because somewhere between December and spring, between chess games and dish towels and purple volcanoes, I'd become part of something. One Sunday in May, after dinner, Jasper walked me to my car. The evening air was soft, lilacs blooming along the driveway. "You know," he said, leaning against my car, "Mom talks about you all the time." "Does she?" "She says you remind her of herself. Strong even when you don't feel like it." He smiled. "She's really glad you're here, Vera. We all are." I looked back at the house. The blue Victorian with light spilling from every window. The sound of Bryn's laughter floating through the screen door. Ollie calling for Isla to settle an argument about whether dinosaurs could swim. For the first time in 61 years, I felt like I belonged somewhere without having to earn it. "I'm glad I'm here too," I said, and I meant it. 1 year after that first Thanksgiving, Connie and I sat on the back porch drinking tea. It was November again. The air had that sharp Minnesota cold, the kind that warned winter was coming. Connie wrapped her hands around her mug, her silver hair catching the afternoon light. "I never told you why I invited you that day," she said quietly. I looked at her. "You said you saw me crying." "I did." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "But it wasn't just that. When I saw you sitting there alone, trying so hard to hold it together," she smiled sadly, "I saw myself. I set my tea down." "What do you mean?" Connie took a breath. "Ollie and I had a daughter. Her name was Lenora." Had past tense. "She's not dead," Connie added quickly, seeing my face. "But she's been gone 15 years. We haven't spoken since." The weight of that silence sat between us. "What happened?" I asked softly. "She met someone," Connie said. "A man from a wealthy family, old money, country clubs, the whole 9 yards. We were so happy for her at first, but she shook her head. "He looked at Ollie and me like we were something he'd stepped in. We weren't good enough. Ollie's a retired postal worker. I was a school secretary. We didn't have the right pedigree." My chest tightened. I knew exactly what that felt like. Lenora started pulling away. Connie continued. "Missed holidays, made excuses. And then one day she called and said she needed space. She said being around us made things difficult with his family. She wanted to fit in. She wanted an upgraded family." Connie's voice cracked on those last 2 words. "So she chose them and she left us." "Connie, 15 years, Vera. 15 years and not a single call, not a birthday card, nothing." I reached across the table and took her hand. "That's why I saw you," Connie said, tears in her eyes now. "That's why I couldn't walk past. When I saw you crying into that turkey, I saw the woman I used to be. The one who kept asking what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough." She squeezed my hand. "I couldn't let you sit there alone. Not when I knew exactly how that felt." We sat in silence for a moment, the wind moving through the bare trees. "You gave me something that day," I said, my voice shaking. "You gave me a place to belong when I thought I'd lost everything. And you gave me something too," Connie said. "You reminded me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who makes room at the table when you're falling apart." She smiled through her tears. "You showed up, Vera, every Sunday. You didn't have to, but you did." I wiped my eyes. I didn't know where else to go. "Well," Connie said, her voice steadying, "you're exactly where you're supposed to be." We finished our tea as the sun dipped lower, the sky turning pink and gold. For the first time, I understood something I'd been too hurt to see before. I hadn't lost a family. I'd escaped one. Sienna didn't want a mother. She wanted an inheritance. Ban didn't want a mother-in-law. He wanted someone he could control or erase. But here on this porch, with this woman who'd also been discarded by her own daughter, here, I'd found something real. Connie stood, brushing leaves off her sweater. "Come on," she said. "Ali's making his famous chili. You're staying for dinner." Smiled. "Always do." "Good," she said, "because that's what family does." And for the first time in 62 years I believed it. In the 2 years that followed, I did something I'd never done. I lived for myself. I sold Russell's house. The big colonial in the suburbs where we'd raised Sienna, where I'd scrubbed floors and made dinners and waited for a daughter who stopped coming home. It sold for $350,000. I didn't ask Sienna if she minded. I didn't owe her an explanation. I bought a small condo downtown. 2 bedrooms, big windows, a view of the river. For the first time in my life, I decorated the way I wanted. Soft blues, white curtains, plants everywhere. And then I traveled. I'd never been west of Iowa. So I drove to Yellowstone in June, watched Old Faithful erupt under a sky so wide it hurt. I hiked in Montana, stayed in a cabin in Colorado where the stars were so thick you could reach up and touch them. I ate alone in diners, read books in coffee shops, woke up when I wanted to. I felt young again, not 62, not discarded, just alive. Back home, I started volunteering at the library 3 days a week. I joined a watercolor painting class on Thursdays. I was terrible at it, but I loved it. I made friends, real friends. Women my age who'd also been through things, who laughed easily and didn't ask too many questions. Sunday dinners with the Merriweathers continued, sometimes at their house, sometimes at mine. Connie taught me how to make her pot roast. Ollie and I finished an entire 1,000-piece puzzle of the Grand Canyon. Bryn showed me TikTok dances. Felix, now 9, started bringing me rocks he found because he knew I liked the smooth ones. Somewhere along the way they stopped calling me Miss Vera. They started calling me Aunt Vera, not because anyone told them to, just because that's what I was. We celebrated 2 more Thanksgivings together. The second one, Isla made me promise I'd never miss another. The third one, Jasper toasted me and said, "To family, the one we choose." I looked 10 years younger. People told me all the time. My hair was still silver, but I wore it down now instead of pulled back tight. I smiled more, laughed louder, took up space. And Sienna, I blocked her number 2 years ago. She'd called 3 times after that Thanksgiving. Once in December, twice in the spring. I never answered. I knew what she wanted. She wanted to know if I was okay, if I was alone, if I still had the money. I didn't owe her those answers anymore. So I blocked her, deleted her emails, let her wonder. For 3 years I lived in peace. I woke up every morning in my bright condo with the river view. I painted terrible watercolors. I volunteered with kids who reminded me why I loved teaching. I had Sunday dinners where people asked how I was and actually cared about the answer. I thought this was my ending, a quiet, happy one. A life I'd chosen instead of one I'd settled for. But Sienna was still out there and she was watching. I didn't know it at the time, but she'd been keeping tabs, asking mutual acquaintances how I was doing, scrolling through public photos Connie posted on Facebook. She saw me at Yellowstone. She saw me laughing at Thanksgiving. She saw me surrounded by the Merriweathers, looking healthier and happier than I had in years. And she didn't like what she saw. Because happy people don't leave inheritances to daughters who abandon them. Happy people change their wills. So 3 weeks before my 65th birthday, Sienna made her move. Sienna hadn't thought about me in 3 years until she opened Facebook. I didn't know this at the time, of course, but I pieced it together later from things she said. Things Ban let slip. And honestly, it wasn't hard to figure out. Greed has a way of making people predictable. It was 2 weeks before my 65th birthday. Sienna was scrolling through her feed, probably looking at vacation rentals or designer handbags or whatever it is people like her look at when Connie's post popped up. A photo from our 3rd Thanksgiving together. Me laughing, holding Felix on my lap while Bryn tried to balance a fork on her nose. Ollie in the background carving the turkey. Sla pouring wine. Jasper grinning at the camera. The caption read, "So grateful for our beautiful growing family. Happy Thanksgiving." Jenna stopped scrolling. She zoomed in on the photo on me. On the way I looked lighter, happier, younger, my hair down, my smile real. She scrolled through Connie's page. More photos. Me at Yellowstone in front of Old Faithful. Me at the Merriweather's house painting Easter eggs with the kids. Me and Connie laughing over coffee. And the comments. Oh, the comments. Such a beautiful family. You all look so happy. What a blessing to have each other. Sienna's stomach dropped. She called Ben. We have a problem, she said. Ben came home early from work. Sienna showed him the photos, her hands shaking. Look at her, Sienna said. She's replaced us. Ben studied the screen, his jaw tight. Who are these people? I don't know. Some family she met. She looks happy. Sienna's voice cracked on that last word. Not because she was sad, because she was terrified. How long has this been going on? Ben asked. I don't know. 3 years, maybe longer. She blocked my number. Remember, I haven't talked to her since that Thanksgiving. Ben leaned back thinking. How much is her inheritance again? Over $1 million, Sienna said quietly. Life insurance, retirement, the house. Dad left her everything. That's our money, Ben said flatly. That's our retirement. Poppy's college fund. The lake house we've been planning. Sienna stared at the photos. What if she leaves it to them? Ben's face went cold. She won't. How do you know? 'Cause Ben said slowly. We're going to remind her who her real family is. Sienna looked at him. How? Her 65th birthday is in 2 weeks, right? So we show up. We bring Poppy. We act like nothing happened. We're the concerned daughter and son-in-law who've been worried sick about her. Ben scrolled through Connie's page again. If this woman is posting public photos, then there's probably going to be some kind of party. We find out where. We show up and we make it very clear that we're her family, not these random people. Sienna bit her lip. What if she doesn't want to see us? She doesn't have a choice, Ben said. We're her daughter, her granddaughter, her blood. That means something. And if she's planning to cut us out of her will, we need to stop it before it's too late. Sienna nodded slowly. Okay, we'll go. Ben stood straightening his tie. And Sienna, when we get there you need to play the part. Cry if you have to. Say you've missed her. Say Poppy's been asking about her grandmother. But Poppy doesn't even remember. Doesn't matter. Ben interrupted. This is about money. Over $1 million. So, we do whatever it takes to get back in her good graces before she signs anything away. Sienna looked at the photo again. Me surrounded by people who loved me, people who weren't her. Fine, she said. We'll crash the party. They had no idea I'd made my choice 3 years ago. They were about to find out. 2 weeks before my 65th birthday, fate intervened at the produce section. Sienna was at Whole Foods squeezing avocados when she heard a familiar voice. Sienna Ashford. I turned. Beatrice Caldwell, one of my former teaching colleagues. A woman who'd always sent me Christmas cards and asked how I was doing. Oh, hi, Bea, Sienna said, forcing a smile. Bea beamed. I haven't seen you in years. How are you? How's your mom? Sienna hesitated. She's fine, I think. You think? Bea laughed. Well, I know she's fine. I just ran into Connie Merriweather last week. She told me all about the big party they're throwing for Vera's 65th birthday. Sounds absolutely lovely. Lake Minnetonka, right? That's such a beautiful venue. Sienna's smile froze. Party. Oh, you must be so excited, Bea continued, oblivious. Connie said it's going to be quite the celebration. The whole Merriweather family, friends from the library, even some of Vera's old students. She so loved your mom. Sienna nodded stiffly. Yes, she is. Bea squeezed her arm. Well, I'll see you there. I'm so glad Vera has people like the Merriweathers in her life. And you, of course. Family is everything. Sienna watched her walk away, her jaw tight. She called Ben from the parking lot. I know where the party is, she said. Ben's plan solidified over the next 2 weeks. We show up with Poppy, he said. You look hurt, devastated. You say you found out about the party by accident. And you're heartbroken you weren't invited. Make her look like the villain in front of all these people who think she's so wonderful. Sienna nodded. What if she tells us to leave? She won't, Ban said confidently. Not in front of a crowd. She'll be too embarrassed. And once we're in, we play nice. We rebuild the relationship and we make damn sure she doesn't change her will. Sienna looked at Poppy coloring at the kitchen table, oblivious. Okay, we'll do it. Meanwhile, Connie and I were in her kitchen baking. I rolled out dough for a pie while Connie whipped cream. The house smelled like cinnamon and butter. Sunlight poured through the windows. Connie said carefully. It's not too late if you want to invite Sienna. I said firmly. Connie glanced at me. I just want to make sure you're at peace with it. I pressed the dough into the pan. This day is for the people who chose to be here. The people who showed up when I needed them. Sienna made her choice 3 years ago. I'm making mine now. Connie smiled. Then let's make this the best damn birthday party Lake Minnetonka has ever seen. The day arrived. The venue was perfect. A beautiful lakeside pavilion with string lights and white tablecloths. The water sparkled under the November sun. Friends, neighbors, the Merriweathers, my library kids, B. Caldwell, even my old principal, they were all there. Bryn and Felix ran around with the other kids. Ollie manned the grill. Isla set out platters of food. Jasper poured drinks. Connie stood beside me, radiant in a lavender dress. There were toasts, laughter, hugs, a cake with 65 candles that took 3 people to light. And then, as the sun began to dip toward the horizon, I stood up. The crowd quieted. I just want to say a few words. I began, my voice steady. 5 years ago I thought I'd lost everything. But what I actually lost was the weight of people who didn't value me. People smiled, nodded. And what I gained, I continued, looking at Connie, at Ollie, at the kids, was a family I chose. Family that chose me back. I raised my glass. So thank you. Thank you for showing me what love actually looks like. The crowd lifted their glasses, and that's when I saw her. Sienna, Ban, and Poppy standing at the entrance watching. The venue overlooked Lake Minnetonka. Autumn leaves reflecting on the water. 40 guests filling the room with warmth. I stood at the center of it all, surrounded by people who loved me, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. I raised my glass. 4 years ago I began, my voice steady. I sat alone in a restaurant on Thanksgiving, crying into a plate of turkey I couldn't taste. The room was silent, listening. I thought I'd lost everything. My daughter had just told me not to come home, that I was an embarrassment, that I didn't fit into her new life. Paused, looking around. And I believed her. I thought something was wrong with me, that I wasn't enough. Connie's eyes glistened. Ollie reached for her hand. But then I continued, smiling now. A woman I'd never met saw me crying and refused to let me sit alone. Connie Merriweather invited me to her table. She and Ollie made room for me. They didn't know me. They didn't know me anything. But they showed up anyway. Connie pressed a hand to her chest, tears spilling over. And over the years they kept showing up. Jasper and Isla welcomed me into their home. Bryn and Felix started calling me Aunt Vera. Not because anyone told them to, but because that's what I became. My voice cracked. You gave me something I thought I'd lost. You gave me a family. The room was quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that holds space for something sacred. So today, on my 65th birthday, I want to say thank you. I looked at Connie, at Ollie, at the kids, at all the faces smiling back at me. Thank you for showing me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who makes room at the table when you're falling apart. I raised my glass higher. You are my family. My real family, the family I chose, and the family that chose me back. The room erupted in applause. B. Caldwell was wiping her eyes. My old principal was nodding, smiling. The library kids clapped and cheered. Connie crossed the room and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, I whispered back. And then the door opened. The applause faltered, heads turned. Sienna stood in the doorway, Ban beside her, Poppy clutching his hand. They were dressed like they were attending a gala. Sienna in a sleek black dress, Ban in a tailored suit. Ban held a large, beautifully wrapped gift box. The room went dead silent. Sienna smiled, bright, wide, and completely fake. "Mom," she called out, her voice ringing across the pavilion. "Happy birthday, Mom." She started walking toward me, arms opening like she expected a hug, like we hadn't gone 4 years without speaking, like she hadn't told me I was an embarrassment, like I hadn't heard her say she was waiting for me to die. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Never did. 40 people watched in frozen silence. Some of them knew. We had probably pieced it together. Connie definitely knew. But most of them just stared, confused, as this beautifully dressed woman swept into the room like she belonged there. Ban followed close behind, his face smooth and unreadable. Poppy looked small and uncertain, her eyes darting around the unfamiliar crowd. Sienna stopped a few feet away from me, still smiling, still holding her arms out. "I'm so sorry we're late," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Traffic was terrible, but we wouldn't miss this for the world." The whole room held its breath. I didn't move. I just looked at her, this stranger wearing my daughter's face, and felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not hurt, not even surprise, just a calm, cold certainty. This was the moment I'd been preparing for. I didn't step forward to hug her. I stayed exactly where I was. Sienna's arms faltered. "Mom," she said softly. "I've missed you so much." She held out a gift box wrapped in silver paper. Ban stood behind her, his face smooth and pleasant. "We want to make things right," Sienna said. The room was silent, 40 people watching. "Taking advantage," I said quietly. Sienna blinked. "What? You said you were worried these people were taking advantage of me?" I looked at Ban. "Is that what you think?" Ban's jaw tightened. "We're just concerned, Vera. You're vulnerable. Like waiting for me to die so you can collect $1 million, said. Sienna's face went white. "I heard you," I continued. 4 years ago, November 15th, I stood outside your window and heard you. Quoted. How long can she realistically live? She's 61. Another 10 years max. Then we're set. We can pay off the house, invest, maybe get the lake property. Ban's face flushed red. You laughed, I said to Sienna. You said you couldn't wait to never see me again once you got the money. Guests whispered, shocked. Sienna's panic hardened into something uglier. You embarrassed us, she snapped. You're a retired teacher, Mom. You don't understand real money, real success. You made us look bad. These strangers, Ban added, his voice loud. We are your family. I didn't flinch. Let me tell you about family, Sienna. I stepped forward. I gave you $120,000 for college. I worked 3 jobs so you could graduate without debt. Sienna's face twisted. I gave you $55,000 for your wedding. I used my flower shop savings, my dream, so you could have the perfect day. I gave you $50,000 for a down payment on your house. That's $270,000, Sienna. The room was dead silent. And when your father was dying, you visited him twice in 6 months. He asked about you every day. Jenna's mask cracked. That money is mine, she shouted. Dad left it for me. There was the truth. Phones came out. At least 3 people were recording now. Ban stepped forward. You can't cut her out. Everything you have should be mine. Sienna's voice was shrill. These people have no right to it. I am your family. More phones lifted. B was recording. This wasn't just witnesses anymore. This was going viral. You're right, I said calmly. You are my daughter. But you stopped being my family the day you told me not to come home. The day you decided I was an embarrassment. The day you started waiting for me to die. Sienna's face crumpled with rage. You can't do this. That money is mine. Ban grabbed her arm, but she yanked free. You owe me, Sienna screamed. After everything I put up with, your boring job, your boring life, your boring friends, you owe me. And that's when Connie stepped beside me, Then Ollie, then Jasper, Isla, Bryn, and Felix. They formed a wall, a family. Jasper pulled out his phone, his voice calm but firm. "Should I call security, Mom?" The word hung in the air. Sienna's eyes went wide with panic. "You can't replace me," she whispered. "I didn't replace you," I said quietly. "You left." They stayed. Jasper held up his phone, waiting for my answer. Jasper's finger hovered over the call button. His eyes met mine. "Mom," he said. "Should I? If you're holding your breath right now like I was, drop a comment. I need to know you're feeling this too." Fair warning, what happens in the next 60 seconds changed everything. Some details ahead are dramatized for impact, but the choice I made, that was real. If you want to stop here, I understand, but if you need to know what I said to Jasper, stay with me. Connie looked at me, asking permission with her eyes. He nodded. She turned to Sienna and Ban. "You need to leave." Jasper raised his phone. "Security's on their way." Sienna's face crumpled with desperation. "Mom, please. I'm your daughter." "Stop," I said. He froze. "You were my daughter," I said quietly. "But you gave that up when you decided I was worth more dead than alive. I spent 61 years trying to earn your love, working 3 jobs, giving you everything, hoping you'd choose me." My voice was steady, clear. "That's over. I'm done waiting. I'm done trying to be enough for someone who sees me as a bank account." I gestured to the Merriweathers. "I choose them. The people who showed up, who stayed, who loved me when I had nothing to offer but myself." I met Sienna's eyes one last time. "Goodbye, Sienna. You got exactly what you chose." 2 security guards walked through the door. Ban exploded. "This is insane. You'll regret this. We'll sue for the inheritance." "Sir, you need to leave now," the guard said firmly. Sienna lunged toward me, but the guard stepped between us. "That's my money," she screamed. "You can't give it to strangers." "Ma'am, please come with us." Ban grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. "We'll contest the will. We'll take you to court." Sienna was still screaming as they escorted her out. "You owe me. That money is mine." The door closed. Silence. And then someone started clapping. Be my old colleague. She was crying, but she was clapping. Others joined. And then the entire room erupted in applause, the kind that shakes the walls, that says, "We're on your side." People surrounded me. My principal hugged me. The library kids high-fived. Neighbors squeezed my hand. "Good for you." Connie pulled me into her arms and I cried. "You did it, sweetheart," she whispered. Ollie wrapped his arms around both of us. "So damn proud of you." Jasper grinned. "That's my mom." Isla laughed through tears. "Best birthday party ever." Then a small hand tugged my dress. Bryn looked up at me seriously. "Aunt Vera, can we have cake now?" The whole room burst into laughter. Real joyful, relieved laughter. "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "We can have cake." The party resumed, warmer than before. Ollie fired up the grill. Sla cut the cake. The kids ran around with frosting on their faces. Someone turned on music. Connie stayed close, her hand never far from mine. As the sun dipped over Lake Minnetonka, turning the water gold, I stood surrounded by people who loved me. Not for what I could give them, but for who I was. Cut the birthday cake. 65 candles melted, but still there. Connie handed me the knife. "Make a wish." I looked around at the faces smiling back at me, at the family I'd chosen, the family that had chosen me. I didn't need to wish for anything. I'd spent 65 years waiting for my daughter to choose me. And when I let her go, I finally chose myself. They say when you stand up for yourself, you'll lose some people. They're right. But what they don't tell you is that you'll also find yourself. A week after my 65th birthday, I met with my lawyer. He updated my will. The Merriweather family, Connie, Ollie, Jasper, Isla, Bryn, and Felix, became my beneficiaries. Everything. The house, money, the retirement funds, the life insurance, all of it. Sienna got $1. Not to be cruel, but to make it clear this wasn't an oversight. This was a choice. She tried to reach me. Dozens of calls, emails, letters. I blocked every number, returned every letter unopened. I was done. The months passed. I traveled. I volunteered. I lived. 4 years after that first Thanksgiving at Lakeside Grill, I hosted Thanksgiving at my condo. Connie and Ollie arrived first, arms full of dishes. Jasper and Isla brought wine. Bryn, 12 now, tall and confident, helped me mash the potatoes. Felix, 10 years old and still obsessed with dinosaurs, set the table with the kind of focus only a kid could have. The table was set for 8, not 40, just us. I stood at the head of the table, glass in hand, and looked at the faces smiling back at me. 4 years ago, I began. I sat alone in a restaurant, crying into a plate of turkey, convinced I deserved to be forgotten. Connie's eyes glistened. I thought family meant blood, obligation, people you were supposed to love, no matter what they did to you. Pause. I was wrong. Ollie reached for Connie's hand. Family, I said, is the people who see you crying and pull up a chair, who show up every Sunday, not because they have to, but because they want to, who make room at the table when you have nowhere else to go. I looked at Connie and Ollie. You invited a crying stranger into your lives. You showed me I deserved to be chosen. You gave me a family I didn't know I could have. My voice cracked, but I kept going. So, here's to the family we don't inherit, the family we build, the family we choose. Glasses clinked. Connie wiped her eyes. Love you, Vera, she whispered. Love you too, I said. Later, Connie and I sat on the balcony, tea in hand, watching the city lights flicker in the cold November air. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. Cutting Sienna off. Thought about it. Really thought about it. I'm sad it had to happen, I said. But I chose myself. And Sienna chose money over her mother. I'm done being someone's second choice. Connie nodded. You did the right thing. I know, I said. And I meant it. If you're listening to this, if you've ever been the scapegoat, the one who gave everything and got nothing back, I want you to know something. It's not your fault. If someone told you you're too sensitive, too dramatic, too much, that's not about you. That's about them. You deserve to be chosen first, fully, unconditionally. Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you, even when you have nothing to offer but yourself. I was 61 years old when I learned that. It's never too late. Walking away doesn't make you cruel. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. Choosing yourself doesn't make you a bad person. Sets you free. I spent 65 years waiting for my daughter to choose me. And when I finally let her go, I chose myself. Found my people. The ones who see me, who love me, who make room at the table without asking for anything in return. I hope you find your people too. I hope you know you deserve them because you do. My name is Vera Holloway. I'm 65 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I belong. Looking back at my journey, I realize I'm now part of those family drama stories I used to hear and think, that could never be me. But it was me. For 61 years, I believed love meant sacrifice without boundaries, giving without receiving, and waiting for someone to finally choose me. Don't be like me. Don't wait until you're 65 to realize your worth. Like so many grandma stories you've probably heard, mine is about learning the hardest lesson too late, or maybe right on time. God gave me signs along the way. Russell's final letter telling me to save something for myself. That lonely Thanksgiving when I sat crying in a restaurant. The moment I overheard my daughter calculating how many years I had left to live. God was trying to wake me up, but I kept hitting snooze because I thought being a good mother meant accepting whatever scraps of love I was given. Here's what these family drama stories taught me. When someone shows you they value your bank account more than your heartbeat, believe them the first time. When someone tells you you're an embarrassment, don't apologize. Walk away. And when God sends you a stranger who pulls up a chair and says, "You belong here," that's not coincidence. That's grace. I've read countless grandma stories that end in regret, bitterness, or lonely hospital rooms where the money-hungry children finally show up to sign papers. Mine could have ended that way. Instead, it ended with me choosing myself, surrounded by a family I built rather than one I was born into. What all these family drama stories and grandma stories have in common is one truth. Blood doesn't make you family. Showing up does. Loving without a price tag does. If you're in a situation like mine, if someone in your life treats you like an ATM with a heartbeat, please don't wait decades to set boundaries. You deserve to be chosen first, loved fully, and valued for who you are, not what you can provide. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If my story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own experiences in the comments. You're not alone, and your story matters too. Final note: this content contains dramatized storytelling elements for educational purposes. Some details are fictionalized, but the core lessons about recognizing financial and emotional abuse are real. If this style isn't for you, that's okay. Please seek content better suited to your needs.